Good morning. Good morning. Muy buenos días. Welcome to HEAD's 2026 Best Practices Showcase, celebrating technology, innovation for Hispanic success in higher education. On behalf of the Hispanic Educational Technology Service Consortium, we would like to express our appreciation for joining us this morning. As we mentioned yesterday during the opening plenary, this historic event brings together for the 15th time in HEAD's Chronicles an unprecedented amount of expert scholars and students to highlight the most prominent initiatives and projects to enhance Hispanic higher education throughout the savvy use of technology. Today, we also have an outstanding group of presenters from which we hope you take advantage. Likewise, we would like to acknowledge again the presence of several persons who have been fundamental in the development and continuous transformation of the HEADS Consortium. First, we would like to acknowledge the presence of presidents and board members representatives from institutions in Puerto Rico, United States, Colombia, and Ecuador accompanying us today. To all of you, thank you for being with us in celebrating this special occasion. Please give them a round of applause this morning. HEADS will also like to recognize our corporate partners and organizations that have contributed to making this event possible. Our distinguished sponsors include Ontology, the Educational Testing Services, Incumatic, Copymed, Tech Access, Simplicity, American Heart Association, Miami EdTech, Desire to Learn, Brightspace, Territorium, Dreamscape, Learn, Online Learning Consortium, Raíces Cyber Org. Let's give them a round of applause as well. Likewise, we would like to thank Universidad Ana Geméndez, outstanding staff, and other HEADS member institutions who have contributed to making this showcase possible. Once again, thank you for your conditional commitment and support. To you, we extend our deepest appreciation. Before we proceed with this morning track winners panel, we would like to acknowledge the valuable collaboration of the evaluation committee appointed by the board of directors in charge of reviewing and scoring all projects to select the top best practices to be presented at this event. This group is truly an exemplary group of professionals. Their dedication and passion transcended their volunteer work, assessing more than 30 proposals competing to be showcased in this event. We would like to recognize their names by focus areas, also known as tracks. The Access and Student Track evaluators were Marisa Ortiz from Inter-American University of Puerto Rico, Sunil Gupta from LaGuardia Community College, and Eduardo Leiva from California State University, Long Beach. And let's give them a round of applause, yeah. Aplaude. Thank you once again. And the Innovation and Online Learning Track evaluators were Chelsea McNally from Southeast Missouri State University, Alice Casanova Ocasio from Alviso University, and Mark Leonardson from Bronx Community College. Thank you once again for your support on this important task. The HEADS Consortium is proud to present our highest series of best practices. It is a pleasure to be joined by a group of such distinguished and accomplished academic leaders. The members of this morning plenary are the presenters who obtain the highest scores in each conference track. Please join us on stage when we mention your name. Let's welcome John Hunt and David Hussle from LaGuardia Community College, CUNY, who received the highest score in the Access track with her co-author, David Hussle. Congratulations. We would like to also welcome Nicolás Banderas, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, who received the highest score in the online learning track in the 2026 Best Practices Showcase. Now let's welcome Pamela Doran from SUNY Empire State University, who received the highest score in the Technology Integration Student Track. Congratulations. And finally, please welcome Nitza Pelman, founder and CEO at Climb Together, who received the highest score not only within the innovation track, but among all tracks with her co-author, Jessica Perez from La Guardia Community College, CUNY. Congratulations. It is an honor to have all of these presenters sharing an overview of their topics. Please give them a warm welcome, our track winners of this 2026 Best Practices Showcase. After this, the 4 presentations, the audience will have the opportunity to ask questions. We're going to start with who? Okay, so we're going to start with John. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Buen dia. So I'm John Hunt from LaGuardia Community College. My colleague David Housel is here somewhere. There he is over there. So yesterday we talked a little bit about our access track presentation, and I'm going to go through it a little quickly. I think we have 10 minutes, so you can ask some questions at the end if I go too quickly through it. At the end of the session, yes. So we're from LaGuardia Community College, it's part of the City University of New York in Queens, the borough of Queens in New York City. So we're a large urban campus. We have a lot of credit students, and we have an nearly equal amount of continuing education students. So we're focused on trying to bring access to those students who are in the continuing education programs where we work. So 57% of Queens residents are foreign born, and there are 518,000 limited English proficiency. So we just have a lot of students who are coming into the system interested in continuing on through their credit programs. Through the strategic plan this year, one of the strategic targets for the whole university for our college has been to increase the number of ACE students, that's continuing education students, that transition into degree programs. So this is an ambitious target for us to enhance the advising ACE students, to inform them of degree programs and support their enrollment. So this was the first part of our access initiative here, was to really raise awareness for our students in the continuing ed, which is really in the ESL programs, the GED programs, and workforce programs, that once they finish those continuing ed programs, we want them to stay on campus, and why they should stay on campus and think about applying to CUNY and matriculating. Then it was increasing the number of workforce students that award credit. So the credit that they can get in the continuing ed programs can be honored in the credit programs. And the most ambitious for us was increase enrollment in the pre-college programs where we work. That's our English language centers, our CUNY Start, which is a remedial developmental program, and increasing the percentage of those students that transition there. So these are quite ambitious goals for us. Why are they ambitious? These are some of the barriers that we found when we tried to get some of our continuing ed folks to come in to matriculate into the credit programs. Obviously, because many of them are English language learners, it can be challenging for them to envision themselves coming to the college as a next step. Some of them do not have their high school degrees yet. Some of them just want a GED and are not interested in continuing along. And obviously, there are other concerns about affording college and financial aid and navigating the CUNY application itself. We do have many programs that serve English language learners. We're very fortunate. There's a diversity of programs that are grant funded through many WIOA Title II programs, some city council programs. Then we have tuition-based programs as well, some F1 international students that come and study with us. We have scholarships for those programs. David runs a CLIP program, which is a CUNY language immersion program that's pre-matriculation. And then we have our GED in Spanish. So we have a large GED program that's offered both in English and in Spanish. The Spanish program is tuition-based, but has scholarships. And we have a pre-GED in Spanish that is free, that is funded by the City Council. The issue that we had is that we have a great variety of levels. Each of these programs are under different funding streams, so they have different mandated assessments that we have to use, either from the federal government, from CUNY itself, or from internal systems. So the first part of this project was really to see what kind of levels we have in our continuing education programs in ESL and also in the GED Spanish, to kind of compare those and decide which students we would focus on to come to CUNY. So as you'll see in those beginner levels, we made a decision not to push too hard for those students to do the CUNY application yet. We wanted them to wait a little bit longer until they were ready. But in the higher levels, so this is intermediate, upper intermediate, we found that those students could succeed in our programs to continuing on there. So we concentrated our efforts on a lot of those students to convince them to come to CUNY, to think about coming to CUNY. So the initiatives really have two parts. A lot of college planning workshops where we pushed in to the programs and talked to the students about coming to university, about their next steps, and then some upskilling programs to deal with the English proficiency issues that some of the students still had, both on the academic side, if that was their plan, and on the workforce side. So really what that came about to is doing a lot of pre-surveys at the beginning, because for some, in federal programs, we have a lot of information about those students. We're required to find out what their prior education was, if they had professions in their home countries or not, if they have a GED or not. But in some, we do not have that information. So in some, students can come, they pay to come to an ESL class in our tuition-based programs. So we really didn't have a lot of information. When they were with us, we were able to gain confidence with the students, and they disclosed a lot of this information to us. So that was the first part. And then we really did a lot of push-in lessons and Zoom lessons to incorporate a lot of this college awareness raising within an ESL context. So a lot of student-based learning there, where our ESL teachers designed these programs so that they could be digestible to our ESL students, and so they could get that information. They did a lot of this with their classmates. After we have a cohort model, so students generally study together and feel comfortable sharing information with each other, so it made it much easier than perhaps just going to the admissions office one-on-one and talking to someone at the front desk there. And then we have a referral process internally. We kind of have a continuing education pre-admission office where we help everyone to continue on. So what we found through these surveys is this was kind of representative of 38% of our folks already had college degrees. So they immigrated after graduating. So for them, it's really how can we reconnect them to their prior professions from their home countries while giving them some English skills for it. 12% had no diploma yet, so for those we concentrated on how can we get them into our GED programs or other GED programs. Some had high school already, so for them they were going to be applying as freshmen, and some had some college, which can represent a difficulty because they didn't graduate from their home countries, but now the university will consider them a transfer student anyway because they did do some credits in their home countries. So that application can be complicated. We also did a lot of frequently asked questions compilations, so from our staff who were hearing this from students and from students ourselves, so we could prepare all of our staff to, these are the questions that are going to come up from these populations, even if they have a diversity of educational backgrounds. So who's considered ESL? When should I apply? How long does it take to learn English is a question we get. In-state tuition versus out-of-state tuition, undocumented students, how can they pay for these? These are a lot of complicated questions that apply to some of our students in the room and not to others. But we are pushing into one classroom where you'll have a diversity of backgrounds and a diversity of needs. So a lot of vocabulary exploration with students talking to each other, doing research about what does this mean at CUNY, what does it mean to be a full-time student, a part-time student, what is even a credit there. So a lot of exploration of what does this mean before they need to do any application, before they talk to the admissions office. We have our internal department called the Center for the Career Development Center, and this is, we meet monthly, all of our programs meet monthly with the CDC staff to really discuss what kind of issues are we seeing with our students, what do they need, what are the timelines, when's the best time to apply to CUNY right now. So these are some of the services that they do. And then some campus initiatives we also have. We have immigrant student success centers, which are really designed to be helping, especially students who are undocumented in New York City. They generally exist at the senior colleges, but we're going to be opening one at LaGuardia, the first one at a community college. And this is really part of our advisement process for the students who may be undocumented to understand that they also can come to LaGuardia and create access for those populations. And New York is very thankful to be able to have a free community college effort here. This is the New York State Opportunity Promise for older students from 25 to 55. If they are interested in the 120 different majors that are eligible, their financial aid should be fully covered. If there's any gap, it will be covered by this plan, which has been really great incentive to kind of tell students that they will be able to afford a community college. So we really developed our English upskilling in relationship to this on two sides. So the academic side and then the workforce side. On the academic side, we have the program that David Housel runs is our CLIP program. So this is a pre-matriculation program sponsored by the university. It's very low cost. It's about $75 for a semester, and this is so students do not need to go to the academic side of the house yet and use their financial aid. They can do intensive academic preparation. It's 25 hours a week, 5 days a week, 5 hours a day for 5 days a week. So it's intensive academic ESL preparation so that when students finish the CLIP program, and they can usually stay for 1 year, they will hopefully be remedial free and can go into English 101 without using financial aid. So we have a little complicated levels there that we have to talk about with the students in our regular ESL programs at the lower level, that this is where you might be placed after the AccuPlacer exam. That's our CLIP program. And then on the workforce side, we've been doing a lot of the IET programs. Some of you may be aware of the WIOA IELCE programs. And this is where the ESL is integrated with workforce training. So we have the workforce trainers pushing into the ESL classroom. The ESL is all contextualized to those specific workforce sectors. And we've been working especially with food safety for ESL, English for a construction course, and we also have our Welcome Back Center, which is focused on immigrant nurses. So this is a national initiative, the Welcome Back Initiative, that is helping especially immigrant nurses who need English preparation so they can pass the NCLEX exam and be relicensed in the United States. And there's obviously a lot of navigation of the relicensing process that we do. And we're very happy to have received money from the Mother Cabrini Healthcare Foundation to do pre-bridge programs, bridge programs for these nurses so that they can develop their ESL in a healthcare context and then transition into the IET programs.
Thank you, John. Now we want to continue with Nicolas Valderas from University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, who received the highest score in the online learning track.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Nicolas Valderas. I am a graduate student at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, all but dissertation. I'm a graduate student working on my curriculum and instruction program. I also work with the Instructional Technology Center for Online Learning, Teaching and Technology Department at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. My presentation today is actually a technical presentation. I did have a demo during my session, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do that today. But it's prompt engineering for course development. So if you're an instructor or you're an instructional designer that's helping different faculty or staff develop courses or organizations on an LMS, this is for you because it's definitely about using AI to, build a framework and build a workflow for that. So I called it Wait, Confirm, Execute, a structured framework for AI-assisted instructional design, right? So why does this matter? It's really about what we need to assist our faculty. It's really trying to help build them from the ground up. Usually I work with faculty that need to do either multimodal and they need to develop these course materials from scratch. And, AI can really help expedite that. Tools are widely available for free. There's actually many different tools available for you online. But today I'm just really going to focus on generative AI, specifically like ChatGPT or Perplexity, or maybe even Copilot. So really depending on your institution. So it's really to relax the constraints that they experience and to kind of build up accessibility in their courses. So really the question is, it's no longer if, it's but how and responsibly. So what is AI? We all have some form of experience at this point, or at least heard of AI being integrated everywhere in our lives. AI is a system that performs tasks requiring human-like cognition, language, patterns, decisions, right? It's based off of different types of algorithms depending on the system that you're using. So machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, and generative AI. So for my presentation, I'm kind of focusing on generative AI, but I do want to mention natural language processing. This has been around for quite some time. It's based off of linguistic rules. It's based off of statistical models, and it makes those matches between different words. And it kind of makes associations within those words whenever it kinds of process that information, right? So whenever you're doing text analysis, sentiment analysis, machine translation, that's what those algorithms are doing. And generative AI, like ChatGPT, those typical types of GANs, the transformer-based models, they focus on mimicking human productivity, right? So it really is creating something from nothing. Usually these types of structures are parsing the internet, being trained on some form of data. So at this point, like if you really think of the biggest conversation right now is data analytics, we're at the point where AI has already assumed a lot of our knowledge that's been digitized. So that's something to consider when there's plenty of books that haven't been digitized in our libraries. So what is prompt engineering? So it's the process of designing, refining, and optimizing input prompts to effectively communicate the user's intent, to a language model like GPT, right? The role is for prompting to serve as a primary means of communication between you, the user, and the AI model, right? So I like to think this of it as a conversation between you and a machine. We can think about it that way because for my particular presentation today, really what's going to stand out is getting it to wait. Getting it to wait for you. You're the user. You're the one that's in control. And it feels at this time in really where AI is around us, we don't really get the chance to wait, right? So we're the ones that have to make it wait for us. So why does it matter? Why does prompt engineering matter? Well, the quality of the prompts directly affects the quality of the generated response. So it's really important how we prompt on the system to give it the output that we desire. Right, so there's different factors that influence it. There's the user's intent, as I mentioned, but there's also the model's understanding. So identifying the strength of the particular tool you're going to be using. There's also domain specificity. So depending on your vocabulary and the way that you're structuring the prompt, it really matters because it's going to give you that particular response. Sometimes it'll just throw out something that may not even be something that you need, right? So what's important here is actually the clarity and the specificity in your prompts. You have to be specific for it, just so there's no ambiguity and confusion. And then there's also, the constraints. So the response length, the format. So depending on how you're formatting it, it will give you a desired outcome. So there's four main things that you need to remember when you prompt engineer. You need to remember what are your instructions for the machine, right? Specific task instructions. You have to give it that specific task or role. What is the context, external information, additional context, the background information of your content, your classroom, right? The input data. You always want to add some sort of information that'll give it a broader sense of the context, just so you can provide a more accurate response. And then the output indicators at the format of the desired output. So it shapes the response as you kind of build. This is a lot to say, but you'll kind of see moving forward into the example. So I mentioned ChatGPT, I mentioned Copilot. These are some of these architectures that I've mentioned before, and this is really what's used generative AI, right? So this is an example that is actually a general prompting curriculum for curriculum development. So designed to leverage the capabilities of AI. And really it's for developing these course materials. So what this particular researcher did, they developed a scope, the goal for that particular outcome of the curriculum, the concepts that are going to be taught, right? And then they're going to do the detailed educational activity. So if you look through that prompt, it's saying like, draft me a curriculum outline for a 3-week training program for a higher education administration and management, right? Very specific program. And it goes forth talking about what university it is, what the weeks look like, what the thematic seminars will look like, what the visits would look like, the discussions, the interactions. So it's very specific in the context what they need. When I inserted this into a prompt, I actually copy pasted that and put it. So I actually have an example here, right? So there's an issue with this. When you copy paste this prompt, it just starts working automatically. It's a very short little video, but it just starts automatically just giving me a whole bunch of information about the subject without waiting for me. And that becomes a problem because sometimes it might have some biased information, unguided content, right? It may need a revision. So kind of moving forward, it just starts doing, without, the user kind of like guiding it. So my idea is to build your prompt with those 4 main factors at the beginning. So defining the scope, content structure, instructional strategies, the constraints, but then also asking it to pause, right? Asking it to wait through a question. Like, let me know when you're ready. Telling the AI system, hey, I need to develop this for my course, and I need to provide you some information. Let me know when you're ready, right? And then it'll stop. It'll tell you, yes, I'm ready. What do you need, right? So that's the waiting factor, right? Giving you time to reflect the completeness, the alignment, the instructional coherence. And then moving forward, you want to confirm and validate the AI system as you kind of start producing. And then executing is just repeating that process because it's a workflow. So what I've used this idea is to design yourself a workflow as you kind of working with the system. Because most systems that are using AI remember what you have talked about. So especially if you create your own accounts, you can have saved chats where it'll actually remember from our last conversation. And eventually it learns from your processing different tasks, right? So this is the workflow. You really want to define the role for the system, right? You are an academic curriculum design assistant with the expertise as an instructional design, pedagogy, and higher education course development. You're giving the system a role, and it should not go outside the scope. And then you kind of move forward with what the specific tasks you need. So support instructors with curriculum designers in developing structured, pedagogical, sound course materials, weekly overviews, learning objectives, content sequencing. So you're giving it that specific task with the role that's involved. And then you let it stop with the question. Let me know when you're ready for the course description. Let me know when you're ready for the objectives. Let me know when you're ready for the weekly content components. So in the end, I want to outline that your syllabus contains all this information for you. Everything should be already outlined when you're going to teach a course, especially in higher ed. You have to provide this syllabus to the students, and it's a social contracts, and it has all this information. What you're going to do weekly, what you're going to be doing with like the scope of the work, right? So course description, course objectives, tentative schedule, etc. Right? So in this example, I am using the course syllabus to prompt. I use the same information that I used earlier, giving it its role, giving it what I need it to do, and getting it to wait. Let me know when you're ready. And it let me know I'm ready with a thumbs up. So moving forward, I gave it the course description, and it starts creating automatically. Right? So it might take a little bit, but as it kind of moves forward, I'll let you all try this on your own. But eventually, it gets to the next portion where I'm looking into the syllabus and I'm actually going to the weekly content. Okay, it actually asked me, what's next, right? And I said, okay, I need to do my weekly content for my weekly overview, the weekly introduction. So it starts catering to that effect, right? At the end of the prompt, it eventually says, what's next? Because it's learning my routine. It eventually learns that routine. So there are some pitfalls to this. There's ambiguity, bias reinforcement, overfitting, lacks of context, complex prompting, and unrealistic dependency on the systems. But there's also other forms of prompting. You can use it to use templates. You can use it for rubric-based prompting, constraint prompting. There's a lot of different things. So I encourage everyone to do the research on prompt engineering just because it can help you kind of build a workflow through the system. So really, you can use it for a lot of different reasons for course development, summarizing discussions, improved clarity of accessibility of your content, generative formative assessments, depending on your task. I do want to just point out my last point is that there's already all these tools available to you, but the other thing is that everything's becoming integrated with AI, especially our LMS systems. Like D2L, one of our sponsors today, actually has a product called D2L Lumi, right? Our own university actually does use D2L, and I have demoed this particular product. And yeah, it's actually integrated to the system, so it's a closed system. So these are my references, but definitely remember the one key component of my presentation is to get your AI system to wait for you. It's okay to ask a question.
Thank you, Nicolas. And let me tell you that yesterday he did his presentation. All presentations have been recorded and we'll be sharing with all of you in our website in the next weeks when we edit everything. So don't worry if you missed it because you will have the opportunity to see the recordings. And also I want to mention that in the program, I just realized it's a mistake. It says that the track winners is from 9 to 9:15. No, it's 9 to 10:15. I apologize for that error. And now we want to continue with Pamela Doran from SUNY Empire State University. She received the highest score in the Technology Integration Student Track.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. It's actually a pleasure to do my presentation after yours, Nicholas, because a lot of what we worked with was training large language models to be effective. At SUNY Empire, we have a fully online Spanish business administrative degree. And we had a relatively short window to get prepared for this program where we needed to translate all of the courses that were part of the track. We needed to translate the student wraparound services. We needed to translate everything rapidly. And leaning on machine translation, which an example you can see here in Wordly, as I'm speaking in English, it's translating in real time into Spanish. And if you notice, at times, it pauses, goes back, and corrects, because it's trying to understand the context as I finish my sentence, as I complete my ideas. It goes back and tries to make sure that the Spanish is correct, it's clear, and it's understandable. But machine translation has context blindness, especially in languages other than English. Let's see. Okay. So we decided to create a custom GPT that we call Delingual. And what we would do is we would take our translation and we would feed it to the GPT, and we created a structured prompt, like you described in the same idea, with two linguists, and we would go through and read the output of the machine translation, and then look for words that didn't make sense, or items like acronyms that happened to spell a word, or when pronounced. Like a couple times, Wordly's been doing an amazing job, but sometimes when you said the word hets, it recognized the word as pets, and it was saying mascotas, and other times it would have difficulty. We have our own SUNY Empire, and very often that will come across as the religion and maybe like the Roman Empire, so Imperio. So it did happen right now, right? There it is. And also we have professors. We have a professor whose name is Hope Sun, and her name will come up as Esperanza Soul. So to correct these moments, we would go through and we would document the areas where the machine translation failed us and build a custom glossary that we asked Lingual to replace those words for us. So whenever it found an acronym that was wrong, it would replace it. So it would help us so that the post-editing process of the machine-translated materials, the policies, these items, would be faster for the linguists who are doing post-editing because we had Lingual correcting it for us. So our two part-time linguists who have doctoral trainings, and they're multilingual individuals, they speak both Russian, they speak Portuguese, they speak a little bit of Chinese, so it's amazing to work with Claire and Perla. They would go through the glossary development, we would do a quality evaluation, and we would go through and keep refining this glossary until we achieved something where the replacement was working. But we started to notice more and more hallucinations with the system. And part of the problem, like you were saying, it scrapes and it finds the information, and it was scraping the internet for Spanish. And only 2% of the internet is in Spanish. So it has a very small sample size. And when we started researching more, we found that there's a good chunk of that is very old Google Translate materials that have been published to the web, which were grammatically strange, awful word choices, but ChatGPT doesn't know that. It just says, oh, Spanish, let me grab that. So it was pulling some of those sensibilities. So we had sections where we wanted it to be in formal Spanish, to use usted when we were talking about policies or things like academic withdrawal. We wanted to use the formal. But things that were more welcoming, like, come join us for a virtual chocolate tasting, or come to the student conference, we wanted the informal too. And it was getting confused still. So we then developed a system of using the Baker shift analogy, which would go through and look for the context. So like before when I was talking about hets coming up, if it noticed that nowhere in the previous conversation we talked about dogs or cats or pets or anything like that, it would immediately flag that and race to the glossary to look for the correct thing. And we would say, if you see the word pets, change it to hets, so that it always shows up correctly for our students. And this is important. With wraparound surfaces, we can have the most outstanding courses, but if a student can't get through the FOSFA process, if they have mental health issues and they want to talk with us, and the person who's bilingual is not available at the time, that's a critical moment where we have to touch our students' lives. We have to help them. So our hope, we're not using this currently, is that this can be a support for all of our students to be able to reach out. So we created 2 Brightspace courses, and we've successfully had some professional development training with our staff, with our faculty. We had little 15-minute sessions where we brought them through how to use the automatic translation tools, the machine translation tools that are built into Microsoft. They're readily available. The students all have their Microsoft suite. They're built into Word, PowerPoint, Teams, everything that you see here. And we started to realize we needed to sunset our ChatGPT. We decided it's easier for everyone to get a hold of Microsoft and use the translation tools, but we need to use Copilot because we want them to feel comfortable in a space they're already using, and also this is something that they can take with them when postgraduate. If they start relying on these translation tools, they can continue to use them after they leave us. They can still support them in their chosen careers. They can continue to build their vocabulary and move through things that may be confusing. So we offer this to both our students. We have it in English and Spanish. And one of the things that surprised us is we had a couple students who were using languages other than English and Spanish. It can support 130 different languages. So 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a student who speaks Turkish as her primary language. And I was helping her understand the nuances of getting around Brightspace and was able to support her there. So then she felt comfortable to continue using that code switching, that cognitive lift for her coursework, as opposed to getting wrapped up in how do I use this technology or how do I navigate this online environment. She could spend that time with her code switching and her English. She could just reserve her thought process for her coursework, which was very helpful. So I'm going to skip a little bit here. So far, our evidence of impact, we've translated almost 1 million words at this point. And for context, War and Peace is 250,000 words. So we've been able to go through this for our students. Our total number of documents is almost 700. And the average document length is 1,340 words. And we reduced the translation time by 50%. And our Brightspace core localization was reduced from 4 to 6 weeks to under 2. So we were able to speed up this process and increase our accuracy and our clarity for it. And by now moving inside of solely Microsoft, since the SUNY system is all inside of our domain, we solved a problem that was really bothering us, was how do we keep this secure for our students? We have to adhere to FERPA. We have to adhere to HIPAA. We have to adhere to so many reasons why a student would want to communicate with someone using this technology that they keep their information safe. So they can give us a social security number and feel like it's confidently in there. So the scope that we went through and we checked all of the different areas. We marked not only the word count of the documents, but we started to also track which parts of the university needed the most translation support. Course materials, of course, went the highest. But shortly after that was anything involved with enrollment. So enrollment with communications, our catalogs, information from the registrar, how to pay your tuition. And it ended up being almost a 50-50 blend of what our students needed to go through this full life cycle of becoming a college student. So in conclusion, this is research that is still in progress. And our goal as a team is that there are no more language barriers. There are only language opportunities. Anyone who feels they're not made for higher education because they don't have the English yet, why are we enforcing the English? We can lean on these tools and make it an opportunity for all. We're hoping that we can help open doors by creating something that is secure, friendly, and easy to understand. And we hope that it's not just a support for someone who needs English support, that our students who speak English only also learn this tool so we can have a cross communication. And I have one last thing while I have moments here. If you can help our research, we have an IRB where we're trying to document how cross-language transfer occurs in bilingual students. So if you have 5 to 10 minutes to spare to help us with this research, if you could share it with other students, that would be absolutely wonderful. And we would really appreciate the help with this work. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And let me tell you that if you want to learn more about Pamela's presentation, she will be presenting the full presentation at 1:30 p.m. at the room A146, okay? And now, but not least, we have Nixa Pellman, ¿verdad? Is that the correct name? Yeah, Pellman. She is the founder and CEO at Climb Together, and she, together with her co-author Jessica Perez from La Guardia La Guardia Community College, received the highest score, not only in the innovation track, but among all the tracks. So congratulations, and please join us for your presentation. By the way, she will be presenting the full presentation. Today is just, right now it's just a summary. Her presentation is gonna be right here at the auditorium after the break at 10:40 a.m. So, Nixa, go ahead.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Nitzan, which is a hard name to remember, so I'll give you a hint for how to remember it. It's like the car, like Nissan, except it's got a TZ in the middle, Nitzan. And it's a Hebrew name, and it means a bud of a flower. Oh my. Okay. And this is a little bit of a different presentation because I don't have any slides. And instead, I have an AI tool named Goldie. And I'd like to show you Goldie, and we will see if this works. This is a huge risk to put up an AI tool as a live demo, but let's see how it goes. So just to give you context, 7 years ago, I worked at LinkedIn. And when I was there, they put a referral button on their platform. And what they learned by doing that was that most people get jobs through a relationship, through an introduction, through somebody that they know. How many people in this room have ever gotten a job through somebody that they know? Great. I got all my jobs through people I know. That's not nepotism. That's just how the world works. And if that's true, then we need to help our students build relationships, professional relationships, and social capital and connections so that they can get jobs through people that they know as well. I started a workforce program that taught people how to build those relationships, and it's called Climb Higher. And we taught a curriculum that was half of the curriculum to teach these relational skills and network creation skills. And that curriculum, we then turned into an AI bot, and that bot is named Goldie, and that is what I'm going to present to you now. The very first question that people ask you when they meet you in a professional environment, I'm sure many people here asked each other this question yesterday. Tell me about yourself. Tell me something about you professionally or personally. And that's where Goldie starts. She asks you the question, tell me about yourself. Most AI tools just tell you the answer. Analyze this document, write this essay for me, write a resume for me, and ChatGPT regurgitates a response for you, and then you have it. And while that might be good or not good, depending on your viewpoint of if that's how we want AI to be used, but it's not going to help you when you're building relationships. Because AI can't just say, oh, tell this person this. Like, are you going to be able to do that when you talk to that person? You have to feel good in yourself to be able to do that. And so that's what Goldie does. She helps you to start to build those skills so that when you talk to real humans, you're ready for it. All right, so let's see if this works. Hi, Goldie. Can you hear me? Goldie, are you there? I promise it was working before this. Okay, so now the sound is not working. She's saying I can hear you perfectly, but we can't hear her. Goldie, can you hear us? Goldie, can you hear us? Hello? Hello?
Speak.
Ah!
Hi.
When you have not great Wi-Fi, it doesn't work. I apologize. Okay. Hi, Goldie. Can you hear us? We can't hear her. Can you hear us? She's not talking. No. Okay. All right. We're going to abort this plan. Does this work? All right. Okay. We're going to show you a quick video of what Goldie looks like. If you career coach. We've spent 6 years helping people land jobs by building authentic relationships. Why? Because most jobs aren't posted online. People get hired through who they know. We call this the hidden job market. Unlike ChatGPT, Goldie doesn't give you the answers. She helps you practice how to engage. First, she'll help you prepare for interviews, help you work on telling your story, and ultimately, finding the right people to reach out to on LinkedIn so that you can prepare for professional conversations that will lead to job referrals. Let's take a look.
When people meet you, they ask, "Tell me about yourself." How do you generally answer that question?
Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm studying marketing at Arizona State.
Nice to meet you, Kate. I like how you mentioned what you're currently studying. You're a marketing major at Arizona State. Having a strong introduction is the first step in opening new professional doors because it helps people remember you and think positively about you later. Tell me more about why you chose marketing. What sparked this for you?
I've always been interested in trends, media, and what influences people. So marketing was a good fit because it combines creativity and strategy.
Perfect. Try saying your introduction again, but this time include that interest in trends, media, and what influences people. That combination of creativity and strategy.
A few things to know. Goldie won't judge you. It's a safe space to practice. Use your phone or your computer, preferably in a quiet space with good internet. Enable your microphone when prompted. We recommend using voice chat so that you can build real conversational skills. Each chat takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Click on Talk to Goldie and wait for her to speak first. She'll detect when you're done, but you can interrupt anytime. And just remember, just like any tech, sometimes Goldie can be a bit glitchy. If you need to end, press End Chat and Goldie will remember the conversations you've had. Whether it's crafting your story, finding connections, preparing for interviews, Goldie is here to help you unlock your career potential. So apologies that Goldie is not working properly, but I did want to just show you that on the left-hand side, and we have a link for everybody. You can play with this when you have better Wi-Fi. But essentially, there's 12 chats that Goldie walks you through. The first is answering that question, tell me about yourself. And then she moves into this concept called the hidden job market, which is all the jobs that are never posted online, but are the ones that are the most ubiquitously hired for. And then when students are like, oh, but networking, that's slimy and gross, I don't want to do that, she helps to have a conversation about that. Then she does a deeper version of telling your story, and then she gets you onto LinkedIn and she helps you search for people that you can write to of places that you're interested in professionally. And then all the rest of the chats are really about how to prepare for that conversation. What questions are you going to ask that person? How are you going to listen in that conversation to be an active listener and build a relationship? How are you going to go deep in the conversation to make sure that it's memorable and lasting? And ultimately, how will you make an ask of somebody? People have a hard time making asks, but it's actually what opens up doors. And that's why she's called Goldie, which is short for the Goldilocks ask, which is how people don't ask for something too big or too small. And that's really what unlocks referrals. And on top right here, you can see that she also helps students practice for their interviews. And Jessica will be happy when I share that with you, that you can actually simulate an interview either with Isaiah, who is warm and friendly, or with Maria, who is sharp and a little icier, but kind of a firm interviewer. And you can actually upload inside of it a job description that you have an interview coming up for, and she prepares the questions specifically for that interview. And then when you're done, she then has a conversation with you about how you did and how you felt like it went, but she shows you her scoring rubric, and she gives you an assessment of like, how did you do on each question and why, so that you really know. This should save people hundreds of hours of time to get your students prepared for things that they're going to do in the real world. And if you want to get the link or ask more questions about Goldie or any of this work on social capital, come find me. Thank you.
Excellent. Now we have 10 minutes, so we can have questions, a Q&A session for the four track winners. So if you have a question, please raise. We are recording. Raise the microphone on the sides. We have, Bella, 2 different microphones. So you can say your name, your institution, and then ask questions. And we have Kimberly with our student passport participant. Go ahead, Kimberly.
Hello, first of all, thank you so much for your presentations. They're very informative. I do have a few questions. So I work as a College Corps volunteer in California, from California State University of San Bernardino. And part of the work that we do is that we work in K through 12. And one of the teachers that I work with is my mentor, actually teaches dual immersion classes. So she teaches in English and in Spanish. But because she doesn't have the credentialing just yet, she doesn't get paid for it. So what I help her do is I help her translate lesson plans. That creates service hours for me. My question is kind of more, how do we address the disparity that's happening with people who are bilingual? Because I'm fluent in English and Spanish, and I'm intermediate in French. And all of those skills that I spent learning, especially French, like I can speak and hold a conversation and like guide a tourist in my area, or I can visit a French-speaking country and they'll respond to me in French. How do we address making sure that people who work towards being bilingual, trilingual, multilingual are still, like their skills are still valuable? Because that's always been super important to me, because that's what's made me stand out as an employable character when I'm interviewing for things, especially when I work in a Hispanic serving institution and I work in a school district where a lot of my students, their first language and their only language is Spanish. So I think my fear with like having gender divide is that also it takes away that personability, because I'm Mexican, so Mexican Spanish is different to Castellano, it's different to Puerto Rican Spanish, it's different to even Ecuadorian Spanish, like all these different types of Spanish. So it takes away that humanity. And my second question is for the other presentation about so for example, my friend here, Vanessa, she works at the Career Center, and at the Career Center, they train their student assistants and the career counselors to help help us with interview skills, which is what I guess Goldie was going to do. But then that also takes away jobs that are vital on campus, especially for student assistants. I guess my question is just how are we addressing that and make sure that we are doing sustainable practices, because it sometimes feels like it's just taking away jobs.
Yeah.
It's an excellent question. Thank you for it. A little closer? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Communication is what uniquely makes us human. There is no robot on the planet that could ever replace you. The system that we are developing needs a human in the loop. It needs someone who understands the beauty and the nuances of language. It cannot survive in a vacuum. It will never be able to keep up because communication is constantly evolving. It's always going to need that oversight. It's always going to need your brain, your intelligence, your strengths. It will completely collapse. This system that we have now needs the two linguists. They have 35 years experience like you. They are multilingual. Without their intelligence, without their insensibilities, it would completely collapse. So AI can only be as good as the linguists that are supporting it and the bilingual individuals. So I do not see that this would take your job. I'm not going to, but I want you to know that I see this as an opportunity for more places. So I can see places like hospitals. I also worked in K-12 for a long time, and I had some of my young male students felt uncomfortable going into the doctor's office with their mom. And they really didn't want to do the translating, for mom. And mom sometimes would hold back some of her questions that she didn't want her son to know to worry him. Mm-hmm. So in those moments, the doctors will need a artificial intelligence if they can't speak that language, but they would need that glossary to be informed by someone like you. So instead of a direct translation, which is still necessary as a second tier, this support is a first tier to help anyone who doesn't speak someone else's language to not look at them and go, oh, hang on, let me get someone. And they're in that moment where they need somebody. So you can kind of listen, make sure you see them as a human, that you understand that there's an issue. And when they need someone like you, you are the next tier. So instead of volumes of translation, we get to triage through the things that machine translation we hand you so you can take care of that person who needs the human touch, who needs you, and you can go offer something that a robot never could.
And just to that point, then would a more sustainable solution be that we reserve this type of tech for those very unique situations where it might be necessary?
Yep.
And maybe try to avoid putting it in K-12 systems where people
Yes.
translate? Because it is very important that I'm very personable with the students.
Oh, yeah.
Since most of them are Mexican, I'm Mexican.
Right.
They trust me. Yeah, that was pretty much it. And then,
Thank you.
It was an excellent question. Thank you.
We have another person waiting for a question. So, because we have a few moments, if someone want to add on,
I just,
yeah, it's open.
how this works. Okay. Just the question about, does this replace jobs? Jessica and I were talking about this on the car ride over here, and, she has thousands and thousands and thousands of students at LaGuardia who need career support, and she doesn't have enough staff. And when we were sending our students for real interviews, sometimes our team would work with the student for 10 hours to practice, to get them ready, to make sure that they're prepared. No one has 10 hours to work with one student. And so if Goldie could help a little bit with that student, then when the career counselor is coming in, they're helping them with a very specific job that the Career Center has sourced for the student. And so they can focus in on what's unique that the human can do, which is find specific jobs, find specific internships, and that can then pair with helping the students prepare with something else. So I think of it more as augmentation than replacement.
Excellent. Question? Your name and institution?
Hi there. My name is Landon Sands. I'm from the University of Houston downtown. I just want to say fantastic job to all four of you. Thank you so much. I'm just a college student, so it's a joy to be here, really. Mr. Nicholas, your presentation caught my interest in particular because I think it has a lot of potential in underserved communities that may not have the resources or particularly staff in the education system that need. Just like a personal experience, recently I was at a middle school where they didn't have a science teacher for nearly 3 months, and I think what you're working on could really help with a problem like that. That being said, with AI, kind of more and more AI in the education system, I've seen kind of a point of contention or maybe frustration among my fellow students when they are told by their instructors to explicitly not use AI in any of their work, but then they're assigned a kind of project or assignment that is heavily AI generated or assisted. And I feel like that's creating a little bit of an unhealthy tension, and because students might feel like, hey, I'm not getting the chance to learn AI, and I feel like I should because everyone's talking about it. So I guess I wanted to ask, do you think, first of all, that's a fair point, and second of all, maybe what you would say to that kind of student who use that? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. That's actually something that a lot of administrators talk about, even in our own university. I think going back to the first question, I think the human component is something that we should not lose. That was part of the point of my presentation, is to actually ask it to wait for you. Going back to your question, whether like students should be using AI and whether instructors are using AI for their own course material, so it becomes kind of contradictory between like the two groups. In the end, this conversation is still up in the air, but it kind of goes back to a lot of institutional policies, right? So even at our own university, we're not allowed to adopt certain technologies because of certain laws like FERPA, right? So we did adopt actually Copilot, right? Just because it integrates into Microsoft Teams and it's a closed system and it's actually supported by like government systems, right? So our own institution. I think the conversation kind of extends to like the ethical implications of how we use it, but I don't want to remove the human component when we actually start developing our course materials. We shouldn't just blatantly use the prompt, get the material, and copy paste, right? We should still be the ones to be the subject matter experts to actually identify the things that are important in the course and kind of building the course in that fashion. But as far as students go, a lot of conversations that have been had were in regards to should we allow them to use AI or not. And in my opinion, I think at this point in time, there's a generational gap between technology, especially for myself, the millennial, right, and those that are a little bit older than I am, right? And I think we are stuck between computer literacy, someone who never uses a computer at all, someone who's still even scared to send an email, right? So, a traditional staff member in person, still using paper, still going to the library, right? That is still kind of afraid of that technology. And we're already going into this new kind of reality where AI is integrated into everything and it's unavoidable at this point. And now it's becoming this AI literacy. So we have a responsibility to be informed about how we incorporate it in our classrooms. So as far as instructors developing assignments for students, they should really incorporate AI and actually adopt it, but do it strategically where the students can learn from it. Because at this day and age, a lot of the students, whether they're Gen Z, Gen Alpha coming into the new school years, right, coming into college, it's unavoidable. We are all integrated in technology, especially with like mobile devices. So at this point, I would consider using AI as maybe like a starting point. One example that has always been used is, say, for an English course, asking students to draft your first paper using AI, and let's review it together in class and see that output. And then from then moving forward, using your own ideas to defend that first draft. And then moving even further to get actual resources from the library or from a database to defend it even further with real ideas from real researchers. So it is a layered question, what you're asking, because it has to do with policy, it has to do with ethics, and it has to do with the technology itself and learning it. So eventually we have to be the ones that build the social infrastructure, right, for our institutions. So kind of that, when we get to that point where we are actually adopting these technologies for our institutions, it is going to be something that we have to be responsible for, not only for our laws, but like I said, the ethical implications of how it's being used in a professional way.
Thank you so much. Unfortunately, we don't have more time for Q&A, but let me remind you that John and Nicolas' presentations were yesterday. Both were recorded, and you will have the opportunity to see the recordings when we have it available. And Pam gonna be at 1:30 at room A146 at 1:30 p.m. and Nixa. Nixon, oh my gosh, it's very difficult that name. We'll be here at the auditorium after the break at 10:40 a.m. And with this, I leave our MC to continue. Conclude.
Okay.
Espérate. And before that, the corporate and board members have to be with me, run with me to the chancellor's office because we start our corporate session at 10:30 a.m. Okay, thank you. The same room like yesterday. Go ahead.
Thanks to all track winners for your extraordinary presentations. Your commitment is truly inspirational. Before we conclude this plenary, I would like to ask Dr. Yuberki Montalvo to recognize the 2026 Best Practices Showcase track winner. And again, we want to start congratulating John Hunt and David Halsell from LaGuardia Community College, CUNY, who received the highest score in the Access track. David Halsell. Yeah, there you go. Okay, here's how it goes. The Hispanic Educational Technology Service Consortium recognizes and congratulates David Halsell, who received the highest score at the following category. Best practices focus on increasing Hispanics and all student access to higher education. Okay, let's give them a round of applause. We will also congratulate Nicolas Valderas, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, who received the highest score in the online learning track. Likewise, congratulations to Pamela Doran from SUNY Empire State University, who received the highest score in the Technology Integration Students track. And finally, and a special recognition to Nitza Pelman, founder and CEO at Climb Together, and her co-author Jessica Perez from LaGuardia Community College, who received the highest score not only with the innovation track, but among all tracks. Congratulations. We also like to ask Jessica Perez, is she here? Sí. Mira. We now invite Dr. Montalvo to stay at the podium and here at the stage to have a special recognition to the participant of the Student Passport Puerto Rico edition. Are you guys here? The Student Passport participants are here? Oh yeah, to excitement, yeah. Who explored various Puerto Rico member institutions throughout academic and cultural experience for the past 3 years. I would also like to ask President Gladys Nieves to join us here at the stage as well. Chair of the Board of Directors. The certificate read as follows. Please come to the stage when you hear your name and stay for a group photo. Starting with, from University of Houston Downtown, please welcome Landon Sands. Sí. Tina Prajapati. Stephanie Chavarria. John Sparagosa. Taylor Newton. and Dr. Mary Jo Parker, Executive Director, Scholars Academic at the University of Houston, downtown. Yeah. Now please help me welcome from Bronx Community College, CUNY. Please welcome Justin De Jesus and John Rosa, Director of the Veterans Office. And now we move to from Universidad Cooperativa de Colombia. Welcome Sara Alejandra Calderón Lagos and Andrei Coral Franco. Now let's go to California State University, San Bernardino. Hey, go, we invite to the stage Jaime Vasquez, Kimberly Rosas, Celeste Mesa, Samantha Coronado, Richard Corsi, and Paz Oliveras, Vice President for Students Affairs at California State University, San Bernardino. And finally, from Borough of Manhattan Community College, please come to the stage, Jake Torres, Andrea Plaza, Brittany Vasquez, Stanley Hernandez, and Kimberly Castro, Bilingual Advisor, Conexiones and Connections at the Office of Students Affairs. Congratulations. Have a safe trip back home. How's it going? Yeah. Thank you. BMCC. Woo! Start spreading the news. Tómase la foto. It's okay. 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 So with these presentations, interesting discussions, and special recognitions, we officially conclude the plenary sessions of the 2026 HEADS Best Practices Showcase. We invite you to participate in the rest of the concurrent sessions we have today. Before we conclude this session, we would like to share some important news and instructions. Okay, there is simultaneous translation available for the Spanish presentations at the auditorium and the room A146. If needed, you can request it and access the translation from your cellular using a QR code provided by the host of this session. All participants, please have your lanyard visible at all times to facilitate the access up to all presentations. Lunches and the coffee stations are available throughout the concurrent sessions. At the registration area, you will find additional information for any further questions or doubts regarding this conference. We invite you to use the QR code in your name badge to view the program, to select the topic of interest, and participate in the concurrent sessions. Your feedback and recommendations are very important to heads. Please use the QR code on the back of your name badge to complete the electronic evaluation at the end of the day. All presentations will be recorded and will be uploaded to the HEADS website during the following weeks. An email will be sent to invite you to the visit heads.org to access the recording. Please share them with your colleagues. Gladys. Participants interested in receiving a continuing education, please complete a form online by using the QR code in the back of your name badge to request a certificate for the event with content hours per day or both days for a fee of $15. Let's give it up for the Student Passport Puerto Rico edition. Un aplauso. Eso. Also, we invite you to visit HEAD's website at heads.org to learn more about HEAD services and next events, including the Learning Technologies Leadership Academy, which is a professional development program featuring a new focus on artificial intelligence to develop the next generations of leaders in higher education. Its next edition of HEAD's Academy will be in April 21 to 24, 26. For more information, visit the HEAD's website.org. Thank you once again for accepting HEAD's invitation to participate in our 2026 Best Practices Showcase. We hope that through mentoring, Anna, from all the resources and networking opportunities available for your during conference. Now we will have a 10-minute break to visit the coffee station at the lobby area. And at 10:40, we will be back between each concurrent sessions to move to the room of the session.